Well, hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studios right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California, our favorite radio station in the whole wide world. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and we have an amazing show for you today and an amazing guest. But before we get to that, I want to also introduce to you my amazing co-hosts, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. Good morning to both of you, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. First and foremost, how has your week been? Dr. Chanel, we haven't talked to you in a minute, so
Yeah.
what's been going on?
Well, Brian and Sheila, I am getting ready for my 40th
Ooh.
high school class reunion.
Whoa.
Say the number, but I guess I have to. Somebody was asking me, how old I was, and I don't tell how old I am.
Mm.
They're like, "When did you graduate?" I'm like, "That's just a giveaway." And
I
then
know.
I ended up right. And then I ended up saying, "Oh, well, it's like, what are you doing this weekend?" "Oh, I'm attending my 40th high school reunion." That's when they knew. Not a big deal. It's just, you all know I still get the 15-year-old girl at home. So excited, Brian, to go to Huron High School in Ann Arbor. I will be at the Michigan
Oh.
Union on University of Michigan's campus, and I do plan to slay when I walk in.
Oh,
Oh,
well. Oh, yeah, And we want pictures. We want proof of the slaying.
Absolutely.
That's going to be amazing. Oh, man. What about you, Sheila? What's been going on since we last talked yesterday?
You always say that, like, it's a work week. But I have something really fun today. After this, we're headed out to a new retreat center in the area near me that looks amazing to check it out for
Wow.
future possibilities. So that's fun.
Well, that's
Oh,
cool.
awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. That's fun. Oh,
Yes.
man. Listen.
I'll let you
uh,
know.
Oh man! Again, as I said before, we're all excited. We have a very special guest that I'm going to be introducing in just a second. But before we get to that, I want to remind our listeners: listen, you're part of this conversation, and especially about this topic that we're going to be talking about today, which is protecting and preserving your legacy. I'm sure you'll have some questions for our guests, so just post them to our live feeds, or even after the show, go ahead and put comments in. We do answer everything that's put in there. So put some comments in, some questions, and we'll have either we'll answer or we'll have our guest answer, and we'll include you in all of this because that's what it's all about. Listen, I'm so happy to introduce our guest. I've been looking forward to this for weeks now, because this is something that I think that's really important around legacy, and she's going to help us define it and how to protect it and manage it and cultivate it. Her name is Cynthia Gallardo. She's your leading legacy lawyer. She's also an international keynote speaker, an author, a business strategist, and I also said she's a lawyer and attorney. Um, she's really passionate about providing a positive interaction with every person she comes into contact with on a daily basis, whether it's personal, professional, or even academic. Cynthia's creed is results, not excuses. And this is especially true when you're talking about building your legacy, which is something that is so close and near and dear to her heart. It's why we have her on today, because you can tell that this is her passion, and she's serving through purpose by teaching people about legacy and building a legacy. And so I'm so happy you're here, Cynthia. So
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you so much, Brian, Sheila, and Dr. Chanel. I'm so excited to be here. And you're right, I am very, very passionate about helping others really just have an awareness about protecting and preserving their legacy. And I am your leading legacy lawyer. I love helping people. I should add the word love in there somehow, Brian. But that's who I am. I really, just to let you know a little bit more about myself, I am
Yeah.
that catalyst, right? I help individuals and I inspire them, I empower them, just like you're saying is right. right? Real conversations that empower. That's my goal, to empower each person listening today to know that they, as a legacypreneur or an individual, can protect and preserve their legacy. And when I talk about legacypreneur, I combine a legacy plus an entrepreneur to be an equal legacypreneur, right?
Ooh, I
Yeah.
love it.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I'm so excited about that word. Legacypreneur. That's what people are. And if you don't have it, if you're not an entrepreneur, it's okay. You
Yeah.
still want to protect and preserve your legacy, what you have out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why don't we jump right on into this?
Yes.
You kind of already told us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this work? Was this always something that you were interested in, like when you were in high school or even before that? Or what's the journey here for you?
Wow, I love that question. I mean, I think about it, this entire thing as a journey, right? So thank you
Hmm.
so much for that question, Brian. So it's interesting because back in high school, I actually worked for an attorney.
Hmm.
And I worked for him. I loved what I was doing there. Yet I took a different path when I went into, back to university, etc. I actually went I have a background in biology, chemistry, which is way off from being an attorney.
Hmm.
But I love DNA, so that's kind of instilled that inspiration about DNA with me.
Hmm.
And then I went to get my MBA because I'm thinking, you know what? What better a
Hey.
collaboration between being able to have my background in biology, chemistry, and then having the Spanish, bilingual, and then adding an MBA. And then so I worked in corporate America for almost 15 years. I loved what I did there. I worked my way up from a frontline representative all the way up into a leadership role. So I have so much.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I loved working there. I love working with people. And then it led me, you know what? I love legacy. I love helping people really build and be positive about what they're building. So why don't I go back to law school? I did that. I went back to law school, and I basically was able to incorporate my love for legacy, utilizing my law degree and helping other individuals being able to protect and preserve what they have.
That
So
is
Wow.
awesome. That is
thank you.
awesome.
Mm.
Cynthia, we are so excited, as you know, to have you here. I will just put another plug in. Cynthia is so passionate. She's super delightful, and she knows everything legacy. So, Cynthia, can you break down, just for us and our listening audience, can you please break down legacy and why it is so important?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Chanel. That's a great question as well. So, legacy, when you think about it, I mean, if you look up a definition, it's going to talk about the past and what you're leaving for the future, right? But what I like to think about legacy, because most people think it's about just having assets, right? Having a house, a car, a land, property, whatever the case may be. But when you think of legacy, it's really about leaving that positive imprint or footprint on the
Mm.
community and the world now,
Yeah.
and then leaving a lasting legacy so others can benefit from that as well. So when you think about it, it's assets plus those lessons learned in your life. So I give a personal example always with this because I lost my grandparents at a young age.
Mm.
I would have loved if I could have really had that on video, heard them
Yeah.
speaking their lessons learned on video or writing a book about it so that we could carry that on from generation to generation. I hear about it now through my parents, my aunts and uncles, but it would have been so much better to hear it from them directly in a video and or a book, as I mentioned. So I always tell people that's part of my, when I work with individuals, is really making sure they capture those lessons learned as well, but also
Mhm.
protecting those physical assets that we think of when it comes to legacy. Yet ultimately, it really comes down to leaving that positive imprint, positive fingerprint wherever you go. And it really takes work to be able to do that on the back end, so that on the front end, people can benefit from that long term. So I hope that helped to answer your question, Dr. Chanel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cynthia.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I do have one other thing to add with that. Actually, I have a secret formula. So I hope anybody listening out there, and you, Brian, Sheila, and Dr. Chanel, that I teach people about legacy, and it's DNA plus synergy equals legacy. One of my favorite words is the word synergy.
Mm.
The whole is greater than the individual parts. And so you take the DNA as a variable plus synergy, and that equals your legacy. So that's why when I work with individuals, I really break that down for them, and we work to create a legal plan for them once we break that down.
Mm. Beautiful. I
Awesome.
love that.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Can you expand on that? Like in that scenario, what do you mean by DNA?
Yes, thank you, Sheila. I really appreciate that. So when you look at DNA, and like I said, I have that passion, love for my background. It really makes us unique, who we are. So nobody else can be Cynthia Gallardo. Nobody else can be Brian, Sheila, or Dr. Chanel. We're all unique. We bring something different to the table, right? So we want to really work with that and be able to, I guess you could say, for lack of better terms, capitalize on that to best assist individuals around you. So that's what makes us unique. And it's making sure people know that they are special, unique, and utilize that. And that builds self-confidence when it comes to an individual, but also as a legacypreneur or that entrepreneur as you go out into the world and create that positive imprint. So when you add synergy to that, Sheila, as you asked, you create so much more, because I know I can do a lot by myself, right? Power of one. I know you can do a lot by yourself, Sheila, as well. But imagine the three of you working together, with me included, and all the audience working together towards a common goal. That's where synergy comes into play. We accomplish so much more with that. And that's what ultimately creates an overarching legacy that leaves that positive impact.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so Cynthia, you're saying the collective when you're saying the synergy, right? Not
Yes.
only, right, you're expanding to, make this inclusive. Is that what you mean?
Yes, yes. So, for example, when I talk to people about specific legacies, we look at that, not just themselves, right, or their individual family, but what can they do to help the community? What can they do to help the world in general to leave that positive imprint? And there's many different tools we use to be able to do that. So I'll just give you a few examples of some tools that we use. So, for example, we will. I personally, in Louisiana, I guess you could say, barred in the positive way, right? I have my degree here in Louisiana. I took the bar here. I passed first time. Yay! So excited. I know, right? So I can practice law here in Louisiana. So that's for wills and trusts, right? So anybody in Louisiana, I'd love to be able to help you with that. I can also give recommendations in other areas or referrals, right? Any other of the 50 United States or the 49 other states. Then when you come to trademark law, which is another tool, then that's a federal law. I can help anybody in the 50 United States and even internationally when it comes to that. So those are some of those tools that I utilize to help individuals. To the question you asked, it's collectively, right? So we look at you individually. We look at the overarching, the whole is greater than the individual parts, everything impacting that. And then we put the tools in place to make it work and make it functionable for you.
This is such a great and rich conversation
Well, thank you.
already. Because you're talking about a lot of the core principles around what we try to support people with, and that is like when you're in service of other people, and that includes in terms of your own profession, but in your own life where you're actually serving, it automatically creates the catalyst for you having a higher quality life. So listen, we're going to take a quick break. And Cynthia, when we come back, I want to ask you some more questions about, pulling back some layers on the importance of this. Maybe you have some stories that you can tell without mentioning any specific names
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
of how this all kind of comes about. So everybody, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity, talking about protecting and preserving your legacy with your leading legacy lawyer, Cynthia Gallardo. We'll be right back in about 60 seconds.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Want to welcome you back to This Morning with Soulivity. We're talking about protecting and preserving your legacy with your leading legacy lawyer, Cynthia Gallardo. Cynthia, we've been talking a lot about, um, you know, the importance of legacy, right? Can you share a couple of stories or one story that comes out in particular where you've supported someone or a family or community in this regard? I know you got one.
Oh, I have so many, Brian.
Right,
It's
right.
at least one, right? So I'll share with you a story when it comes to wills and trust, and then I'm going to
Uh-huh.
share a story when it comes to trademark as well. So
Okay,
those are
perfect.
kind of the three tools I should say that I utilize and work with
Mhm.
individuals specifically, and then I can expand with other tools, of course, but those are the core ones. So when you think about a will. So I say a will, like a last will and testament, right? And
Yeah.
then also a trust. So a lot of people think with the trust, you have to be this super billionaire, right? Multi-billionaire, but you don't.
Mhm,
Anybody can
mhm.
create a trust to protect and preserve their legacy, right? Or eat their children, their assets, etc. So just to give you an example, a lot of times it's really important to know the law in your specific state to make sure that the document you've created or has been created is correct. So Louisiana is very specific, nuanced in the
Mhm.
law here. So I do share, a specific example would be somebody thinks they have their will in place, which I know it happens all the time, and they don't have specific pieces of that will correct because Louisiana requires very 4 elements, right? So there's one of those elements that's missing. You go to court to probate, and it's not a valid will because those specific elements are not in place. So
Uh,
I always tell people, make sure you reach out to an individual, an attorney who works within that specific area, so you have the right 4 elements in place to make that an effective last will and testament. But from a story perspective, Brian, I do want to share with you so many times individuals, and I'm going to share a personal experience with you, and I'm going to try to be very specific about this.
yeah.
So I'm going to give you an example. I was personally in a very traumatic accident on March the 8th of this year. My son and I were in an accident. Dr. Chanel knows about this, but
Mhm.
we it was so traumatic that my son and I, we were driving. It was not my fault. I just want you to know, but we were hit on the left side, and we were hit so hard that the car turned around and we rolled twice into a ditch. Uh,
Wow.
yes, it was. And I still, when I talk about it, I have
Mm.
to kind of take a breath and
Oh yeah.
really center myself with that because it's traumatic, and so many people face those type of things today. But you have to plan for the expected and the unexpected.
Right.
So I share that story because that was unexpected. You have to have something in place. What if something would have happened? Fortunately, it did not. Something extreme happened to my son and I. But what if something had? Then if we didn't have something in place, my poor husband, where would he have gone? If
Yeah.
you don't have a will in place or a trust, then the default plan will take place, which is your state's government or your state will basically you'll go into probate. You don't have anything in place, the state will take over at that point. So we want to be able to take control of what we have, right? Our
Mhm.
assets, lessons learned. That's very important. And when it comes to a trademark, as a legacypreneur, if you don't keep your business protected, somebody else will
Mhm.
take that from you. You
Oh,
won't have a legal right to stand on. So I've seen
absolutely.
it happen so many times, Brian, and I'm very passionate about making sure that you, as an individual or a legacypreneur, have that shield to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
So I hope
Absolutely.
that helps, Brian.
Oh, absolutely. Shoo. Mm-mm-mm.
Can you, as an entrepreneur, can you kind of go deeper into what aspects of the business and of our creative work do we trademark?
Oh, that's a
And
great question, Sheila, right? Because you have to know what you're able to protect. So
yeah,
those things as part of your shield with the trademark, what you can protect are your name, your brand, your logo, your name, your logo, and or your tagline slogan. So I'll give you an example. So in my case, my brand is Legacypreneur, right? I help individuals as combine their legacy entrepreneurship to create that legacypreneur. That's something that can be trademarked, so that a name. Then you get to a tagline or slogan. So it would be, in my case, your leading legacy lawyer. That can be trademarked, right? So in whatever tagline slogan, just do it for Nike. That's a tagline or slogan, right? Think about finger licking good, Kentucky Fried Chicken. We all know that. So that's a tagline slogan that can be trademarked. And then a logo as well. You're able to trademark or protect. So when you think about trademark, think about those in general, those 3 things, and I'll repeat them just to make sure we have them. It's your name, your tagline slogan, and your logo. Those are the 3 general things you can trademark or protect.
Excellent. Excellent. Chanel?
Cynthia, yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for reiterating that. Now, help us, because I hear the stories. Tell us what happens when those things are not, trademarked, they're not protected. What happens? What happens in the fight, in the lost revenue? Give us the ins and outs of that.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Chanel. Great question. So I always tell people don't realize, or as legacypreneurs, individuals, you don't realize that trademarks are part of your intellectual property, right? So your name, tagline, slogan, your logo, that's all part of your intellectual property. And you're thinking long-term as part of your legacy. One day, you may want to pass that on. That's part of legacy, or you may want to sell whatever you're creating at this point, right? And you're thinking, well, how can I add value to that? A trademark will definitely add value to it. It's like cha-ching. It's adding money to the bank for you as an entrepreneur. Because think about it yourself. If you were to go out and buy a business, if it had something trademark registered with the USPTO or the United States Patent and Trademark Office, it was registered, validated. I always consider it like a birth certificate for your business, right? Like a birth certificate for a person, but this is for your business. That adds value. So you're going to be able to purchase that knowing that it's something secured, protected, and preserved. But if it's not protected and preserved, anybody can go out and take that name, utilize what you've created. It's like taking a carpet, one of those little carpets that you have near your door, taking it from under you, you fall, you lose everything that's there that you've built up at this point as part of your legacy. So I always give an example here. I mean, we think of these huge restaurants out there, right? And I won't give a specific name, but I will say, if you don't have something protected, somebody can go out there and take this name that you've worked all your life to build up as your part of your legacy, and they can start utilizing it. And it's first come, first served when it gets to the USPTO office or the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So whoever puts the application in first, that's the individual that will be able to have a legal right to it. Now, you may be able to prove first use in your geographic location, but that's only in that particular area where you started using it, right? So you want to have protection in all the 50 United States and internationally, especially with all the social media that's out there. So I always tell people, don't limit yourself, protect yourself, within the United States, but also internationally. So I hope that helps, Dr. Chanel, give you an example of what can happen if you don't protect yourself.
Absolutely. We need your leading legacy lawyer.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Listen, everybody, we're going to stay on this topic. We're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk even more about protecting and preserving your legacy with Cynthia Gallardo, your leading legacy lawyer, in just a second. We'll be back in about 45 seconds.
Thank you.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together, we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on Soulivity TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
Yeah, catch Teresa today at 12 noon for another Steps to Happiness show. She's going to be talking about alternative medicine practices today. So this is going to be a great show right here on Soulivity TV. Listen, we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. We are talking to your leading legacy lawyer, Cynthia Gallardo, and we're talking specifically about protecting and preserving your legacy. Sheila, I'm going to go to you.
All right, I'm going to do a selfish question, but I think there's a lot of us out there that probably want to hear
You
this.
be selfish,
So,
girl.
right, I'm going to go back.
We got your back.
So you trademark those, the three things you said, the name and the logo and the tagline, but what about creative content? Like, is that automatically protected under that, or each thing that people put out? Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there right now creating curriculum and, different programs. So can you talk about that?
Yes. So I'll speak to it from a copyright perspective, right? So copyright, creative content that leads into the copyright realm. And when I say copyright, a lot of times people think, oh, I'm creating content, so that's what copyright is. But I'm talking copyright from a legal perspective, right? So to have that legal right to be able to have that backing and say, wow, this is mine. And I always compare it to, you think back in the days where, when there was, the United States was that people were putting stakes on property, right? I'm putting a stake on this piece of property. It's mine. That's basically what a trademark and or a copyright comes down to. You're putting a stake in the ground in your business and you're saying, this is mine, right? So in my case, your leading legacy lawyer, that's mine. In your case, This Morning, Soulivity is mine. Or Soulivity is mine. And so that's really what comes into play. But with copyright, it's a little bit different because once you put it out there, that technically is yours. I always tell people, protect yourself though. Put the C with the circle, copyright. This is copyright Cynthia Gallardo 2023, whatever the case is. So people know that's that stake you're putting out there. Yet, this is where the caveat comes in. To have a legal right to go in front of the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and really have a claim, you have to have that copyrighted, an application or that copyrighted with the USPTO.gov organization or the government, right? So you can put that out there, but to have the legal right to go in and really say, I'm going to make a claim with this against this other person who's trying to use my content, you have to have that application at the USPTO office. So I hope that helps from that perspective, Sheila. Now, I want to just caveat a little bit into trademark. Kind of the same thing applies there too, because anybody can go put a TM next to their name, right? You can do that and put that stake in the ground. And well, you're telling people it's mine, but in order to have that legal right or first come, first serve, as I mentioned at the USPTO, that application needs to be submitted. So I always tell people, put that stake in the ground, sure, but make sure you have something to back it up, right? And that's where you work with the USPTO.gov to make sure there's an application there. So I hope that helps answer your question, Sheila.
Yeah, I think that's really good because there is a lot of people out, that are just like putting trademark on or saying there's a lot of information about that stake in the ground, which we know that stake in the ground doesn't really work anymore on our land.
Exactly, Sheila.
No.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a great analogy there because you're right. That's historic, right? That's ancient. Now we have to move with technology and utilize the tools and resources that are available now. So that's great. I like the way you brought that up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now that my co-hosts know that I'm getting comfortable on the air, I'm going to say, Cynthia, this reminds me of CYA. Is that right?
Yes, it does. Exactly. Because you want to always make sure that you have everything in place before you put it out there, or the CYA, right? And I cover that from a corporate perspective. I cover it from a business perspective. You always want to make sure that the right steps are in place before you put something out there. And so Dr. Chanel, that kind of leads me to a horror story. If you don't mind, I'll share with the audience here. And this is a true story of somebody I've worked with when it comes to the trademark perspective, or even copyright, to your point, Sheila. So
Mhm.
in this particular case, no names mentioned, there was an individual that put her idea out there, the vision, and she was actually utilizing this. And it was a great concept, a great name, a great tagline slogan. She shared it with somebody she thought she trusted, right?
Mm-mm.
Yes, and that individual went out and actually submitted the application before the
Mm,
actual visionary did.
mm.
So, yeah, she can fight for it, but who's going to actually have that first come, first serve?
Right.
The person with the
Right.
application. So that's where the CYA, before you go out there, and you definitely want to make sure your circle of friends, right? Those you can trust, you can share it with, but be careful when you're putting information or new ideas out there. Make sure it's protected before you do that, because I don't want the same thing to happen to you or any of the other legacypreneurs or individuals listening out there.
Mm, mm, mm,
Absolutely.
mm.
And, you pour your heart and your soul into your vision. That is your life. That is going to be your legacy. And then to have it, swept right from under you is just devastating.
Yes, it is. It is, Dr. Chanel. And I've seen it so many platforms, different platforms, where people will share this vision and somebody will come take it, maybe change just a little bit, but you know where that original concept came from. So, I love to help people, individuals, legacypreneurs, but sometimes it's a little hard when those first steps were put in place at the right time. So it's about making sure it's the timing. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm so new, I don't need one. Well, think about Amazon, think about all these big businesses, Facebook, or Meta at this point. All of them started somewhere, right?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
your business is starting somewhere as well. So make sure you start with the right foundation.
Cynthia, as you're talking about that, as a media company, we have to do a lot of CYA.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about things like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're a creative entrepreneur, right? One of the things that I tell people when I mentor people on is, listen, when you're working with a client, and before it even gets to the creative, like once you start talking creative, everything that comes out of your mouth is fair game, right?
Yes.
Because you don't have a contract, you don't have a thing. So before you get to that, stop, get your contract together, protect whatever creative that you may do jointly with someone before you start talking about it. So there's an awareness here too, right, Cynthia, that depending upon what career, what profession you're in, the awareness of when you're sharing an idea that could be something that you want to actually cultivate and develop. 'Cause I think we just
Exactly.
share, and you brainstorm and all that, and then that becomes a concept that another person can run with, right?
Exactly, Brian, and that's the key, making sure you have the right tools and put those in place. So you brought something up that's critical and key, and I always stress to individuals, especially like you said, in that creative space.
Hmm.
And so many legacypreneurs really create that creative space. Make sure you have those contracts, the non-disclosure agreement, right? Because
Yes.
then we have back up that if somebody tries to take that idea, then we can go to court with that NDA or the non-disclosure
Mhm.
agreement, and you have something to stand on at that point. But when it comes to a he said, excuse me, she said, it's a little more challenging or difficult to be able to prove that. So I always tell individuals I work with, do not share your ideas or concepts unless you have that NDA or the non-disclosure agreement in place, signed, documented, and let me
Yes.
review it first, right?
Yep.
And then you can get out there and share those ideas and concepts, because then you can have something to go to court with and can back that up. Even then,
Believe,
it's going to be an uphill battle, yet you have something to be able to work with.
believe me, DocuSign and Adobe Sign is your friend, people. Is your
Yes.
friend. Do not be shy. Listen, God, this is so great. I'm loving this conversation. Listen, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about, you know, just from your standpoint, Cynthia. We would love to get your take on how doing these things, how it affects our community in a positive way, right? Because I think that when we're all kind of doing this work, and we're cultivating a culture of legacy in the way that you're describing it, I think that there's going to be a lot of positive outcomes, and I would love to get your take on that. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity in about 30 seconds.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
Yeah, visit Soulivity.com now, especially the new reimagined Soulivity is right here for you. More passion, more purpose, more stories on high quality life today. Go check it out. We're here again with Cynthia Gallardo, our leading legacy lawyer. Cynthia, I wanted just to kind of bring this home because, again, this show specifically about empowering people. There's the empowerment that people get from creating their legacy and protecting it and preserving it. And then there's the other side of this, which is the benefits to our family, our community, our world. Can you talk a little bit about what you have seen in terms of the after effects of people's lives when they do this work?
Yes, most definitely. So I can speak to it specifically from, when it comes to having that tool in place, right? A will
Yeah,
and or a trust. And
yeah,
then I can speak to it from a trademark perspective. So I always go back in general, right? I look at the big picture with legacy. So
yeah,
you think about it within your community. A strong individual builds a strong community, or a strong individual builds a strong business, which builds a strong community, which builds a strong world. So it goes back to that
yeah,
synergy, right? It's
yeah,
the power of one, but when you bring others, get others involved, it creates that synergy as a whole. And that's what legacy is about. So I always tell people, to your point, Brian, it's all about that awareness, having the
yeah.
tools, putting those in place, making sure that you are confident and are strong as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a legacypreneur. That then will help your individual family, the community, and the world as a whole. Now, when it comes to wills and trusts, if you
Mhm.
don't have it in place, then it will impact your those around you negatively. And I know from personal experience, I've seen it happen. And then if you have something in place, you protect and preserve that legacy, then you can pass on that, I would say, generational wealth, right? So what do you do if you pass that on? You can then expand it into the community. And you can do that in so many different ways. And I work with individuals. You can create a nonprofit. You can do different things out there, right? Whatever
Mhm.
you want to do, it's available if you have the initial tools in place. Then we come to the trademark, as we talked about earlier. If you put that in place, you protect and preserve your legacy, you're adding that value to your intellectual property, then you can pass it on in a very positive way, adding generational wealth once again, passing that on into your family, the community, and the world. So it goes back to that synergy. It really comes from the power of one, starting with you and bringing in everybody else around you, bringing awareness by using that awareness, that education, and the tools available to you.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Dr. Snow, going to go to you for any final thoughts with Cynthia.
Well, of course, all of this is just rich, and it just shows us no matter what stage you are in business, you do have intellectual property that you need to protect. And not only just your assets and the business, but also Cynthia talked about these lessons and your DNA. And for me,
Yeah.
what's coming up is, in order to have a legacy, you need to express more now of who you are and continue to cultivate, Brian, the word you use, cultivate that legacy so that it can grow bigger and have greater impact and influence. So let's not only think about those assets, but also think about our footprint, our DNA, where we're going to have the biggest impact and influence.
Love it, love it. Sheila?
Dr. Chanel, I love what you just said, especially about passing our story on, just like you said earlier, Cynthia, because I think that is so essential. And after having, both parents having Alzheimer's. I wish that there was more that had been passed down earlier. So I'm very conscious of that now for my own children. And I hope everyone hears that aspect of today's story.
Yeah.
But I also want to thank you, Cynthia, because I work with a lot of solopreneurs. And I think that these words and the process of this, especially when they're starting out, can be very overwhelming. And you do an excellent job of breaking it down and taking the angst out of it. So thank you.
I guess it's up to me now, right? Cynthia, wow. When I was hearing you speak, I was thinking about the fact that legacy is so multidimensional, and that doing those things like the wills, and if you're an entrepreneur, you have a business that it's like a family business specifically, that you want to protect that and in a way where it lasts into other generations. But I'm also thinking about this one simple thing that's a story of my father's family, where we're able to trace our family back 7 generations to the first slave that came here. Well, there's a reason for that, because when that first person, his name is Thomas McKinney, he had the foresight to start writing down in a family Bible their heritage, and they passed it on and on and on and on and on. And so so we know our legacy in terms of who and all that kind of stuff, because at a very simple level, here's a person who had the awareness that, listen, we got to track this stuff, right? Because there's other people who don't do it. And so legacy is important, I think, at a very deep spiritual and soulful way, where generations that go after us know where they came from. Because again, I think a lot of times you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. And so thank you for being here. What's next for you? Where can people find information about, and are you going to be like speaking or a thing like that? Tell us a little bit about that part of your future.
Thank you so much, Brian. And I do want to say this, your story about the 7 generations and having written it down, that literally brought goosebumps to my body. So
Oh,
thank you for
wow.
sharing that.
Oh,
Yes, and that's really what legacy is about. So I mean, you really just captured that very well, the three of you actually. So thank you so much. And for me personally, if you want to reach out to me, you can contact me at Cynthia Gallardo Legacy on Instagram, or you can also go to my website, as you've brought out already, www.cynthiagallardo.com. Ultimately, you can also, if you would like, you can set up a free call with me.
hey.
I would love to have you do that with me. You could go to www.cynthiagallardo.com and be able to set up that call with me there. But I also, I have a free gift.
Oh, hey. We love free gifts.
Yes. I actually want to give you a free gift of that 5-step process for trademarks. The 5-step trademark process. I love to be able to see the big picture first. So that's what I like to do for individuals as well. And then I can help break down the details if you need to. So if you go to CynthiaGFreeGift.com, CynthiaGFreeGift.com, you'll be able to get that 5-step process laid out for you. And of course, if you need help, please reach out to me. I'm here. I'll give you my number on over the air here, 337-517-3977. You'll be able to reach me or my office directly. I'd be able and love to be able to help you, Brian. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me on today's show, Brian, Sheila, and Dr. Chanel. This has been amazing. I love the synergy created today. I'm going to leave today with a very positive, just that smile on my face. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. It's our pleasure. And would you come back? Would you come back and talk again with us about some of this? Maybe go into detail, a little bit more detail about some areas.
I would love to.
Yay.
Yes. Oh, thank you for the
Of
invitation, Brian.
course. Of course.
Yes,
We had a
please,
blast.
I'm available here to
This
help.
is good
Thank
stuff. I mean, this is practical advice that people can actually use, that can actually really change people's lives in a really positive way. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Listen, we're going to take another quick break and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity in just a second. We'll be back, right back.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
You missed Consciously Awesome Living yesterday. You can watch it today. I've just put the link in the chat where Sheila, you were talking about compassion.
I was, yes.
Yeah,
Compassion is a beautiful thing.
it is. It is. Oh man, that was great with Cynthia. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. While we have time, why don't we get to some shameless plugs here for Soulivity? Dr. Chanel, you've got some. Again, I love all these great complimentary free stuff for people to like
Yes.
grow and that kind of thing. But you have complimentary coaching sessions that are going on right now.
Absolutely. And please, please feel welcome to take advantage of those, especially so that you can learn how to express the real you, that authentic you, not that pretend you, not the put on you, not the pretentious you, so
Right.
that we can establish your DNA and get you to your legacy. So, yay.
Woohoo! I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Also, you have your book that's out right now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yes. So the book is on Amazon called Come Back to Yourself, Love Life, Live Free. We're going to help you, again, get to that real place inside of you that you were destined to be and get you on your purpose. In a minute, Brian, I'm going to have to write a new book soon.
I love it. While we continue on here, Sheila, you've got an amazing thing that we've been talking about this week. Um, I just kind of smile when I think about it. Can you tell people about this beautiful event that's coming up in August?
Yes, I will be kicking off the next Consciously Awesome Gnostic Adventure, which is a delightful program which combines conscious meditation and lessons to help you reclaim your divine connection and live your most brilliant life. If you are interested in learning more about that, you can do that at my website, and we have the link right up here, SheilaApplegate.com, and consciously awesome Gnostic Adventure. But also, you can sign up for a virtual cup of coffee or tea with me, and I can tell you more about it because it is a comprehensive program. So if we talk one-on-one, I'll be able to listen to what you're looking for and see how that would fit in with the program.
Woohoo! I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, we're going to also remind you about our new Soulivity.com. We put a lot of hard work into reimagining our platform so that it's like easier to navigate. There's more content, more video content too. And even special stories from our Soulivity collaborators like Sheila, Dr. Chanel, and others. Go check it out at soulivity.com today for more passion, more purpose, and more information about living your best life today. Wow, guys. It's like, I mean, I love shows like this where it's practical information that we're sharing with folks, you know?
Well, and it's life-changing information, like you said, Brian, or I don't know if Sheila said, yeah, that this can change not only your personal life, your family, your business, but then it can extend to our community and our world. So
Yeah.
it has
Right.
significant impact and
Mhm.
significance. Yes.
You know, Sheila, I was thinking about, you know, we talk about our First Nation people, indigenous people who are here, and there's such a rich heritage that they keep alive. And I think about that in these terms of legacy, right? That
Mhm.
the material assets and all that are important, and there's also a connection to that in terms of having this living legacy that never dies. It's just extends into the next generations and empowers them, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And I think, as you say that, I think about with the indigenous people, it is about, in most cases, passing on the stories.
Yeah,
And it's really important that we do that for our
absolutely.
children and our 7 generations ahead.
Yes.
Oh man,
I mean,
oh
it's gotta
man.
be some intentionality behind it, right?
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Absolutely.
And then part of the story is, great 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 grandmother or great 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 grandfather, whoever decided to take this step, right?
Mhm.
To make sure that the deep fundamental core values are kept alive and passed on,
Mhm.
right? Um, you guys know I'm a techie, a sci-fi. So, I'm remembering in the last Star Wars movie where Yoda's telling the older Skywalker who had gone through these challenges of pass on all that you've learned, not just the positive, but also the lessons learned, like,
Right.
Absolutely.
all of that stuff,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so, talking with Cynthia today, I'm reminded of listen, that stuff is good too, right?
Oh,
All of it,
yeah.
to pass on all of it,
Yeah,
you
the
know.
lessons are where the growth is, so
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. Well, listen, everybody, we're coming up on to the end of the show. It always lasts too short. It's always, I would always wish it would last longer. Listen, but we're glad that you joined us today. Please remember to follow us on social media. Go to our Soulivity site for this morning at soulivity.com/this morning. Also, follow us on all the social media platforms, including now Threads. We're on Threads again, too, and we're seeing people that are joining us. Also, join our mailing list. When you go to soulivity.com, make sure that you subscribe, and you'll get alerts and all that kind of thing about new things that are happening. There is an announcement that we're probably going to be making all next week about something really wonderful that's happening here on Soulivity, so stay tuned for that. On behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you for joining us again for this issue of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for a live broadcast, or join us 9 a.m. Pacific time on Thursdays and Fridays on KMET, KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent.